When I was to take blood pressure medicine and I didn't like the way it made me feel, I stopped.
The way Dynasty's Linda Evans lives now, at 82 years old, will blow your mind. In the midst of nothing, she went from making $100,000 every episode to cutting her own wood. The once wealthy TV personality abruptly left Hollywood, took refuge in a clandestine Washington compound, and vanished without a trace. The most bizarre aspect, though, is yet to come. She was arrested at the age of 74. Astonishingly, she staged a triumphant return. You won't believe what she did with a real eel on TV until you hear it. It really shattered the internet. Linda Evenstad was born Linda Evans in Hartford, Connecticut, on November 18, 1942. A significant portion of her identity was shaped by her Norwegian roots. Her paternal great-grandmother resided on a tiny farm in Nes, Hedmark, before going to the United States in 1884. The name Evenstad comes from that place. Arlene and Alba Evenstad had 3 daughters. She was the second. She grew up in an environment that encouraged expression and performance because both of her parents were dancers. However, Linda was a very timid youngster who shied away from the spotlight no matter how often she was around the entertainment industry. Leaving Hartford for North Hollywood, California, her family uprooted when she was just 6 months old. Despite her lack of interest in the entertainment sector, this transformation thrust her smack dab in the center of it. Hollywood High School was her alma mater. There she had the opportunity to study with Carol Wells and Stephanie Powers, 2 stars of the future. She was never really affected by her parents' passion for performing. Linda liked being in the background, even though they flourished when the focus was on them. It was difficult for her to feel at ease in social settings due to her severe shyness. She required assistance conquering her fear of attention when she was 14 years old, according to her parents. Rather than trying to steer her toward a Hollywood career, they pushed her to enroll in acting courses so she could feel more comfortable in her own skin. She hesitated first. Acting provided her with an unexpected boost, despite her fear of performing in front of an audience. She was able to freely express herself in a secure environment. She had a sense of liberation rather than exposure. She was able to express feelings she had previously repressed by assuming multiple personas. Everything shifted after that choice. At the age of 15, she accompanied a friend to an audition for a television commercial. Linda was there to reassure her anxious buddy. Even though she wasn't planning on trying out, destiny had other ideas. At the audition, a casting director took note of her and wanted to know if she was interested in reading for the role. Despite her lack of experience, she consented to try out for the role. She received the position, much to her astonishment. Because of that unforeseen event, she was exposed to acting in a manner she had never anticipated. Thanks to the commercial, more doors opened for me. She quickly found herself in demand for her modeling services and obtaining tiny television jobs. She made her acting debut in 1960 on the hit series Bachelor Father. She initially crossed paths with John Forsythe while filming. Back then, none of them had any idea. However, their paths would recross many years later, altering the course of their respective careers. Another famous sitcom from that time, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, featured her as well. Linda gained confidence in front of the camera and experience in an industry she had never intended to be a part of through these early modest parts. Linda Evans played the role of Audra Barkley in the 1965-1969 ABC Western series, The Big Valley. She was 23 years old at the time. It was a turning point in her professional journey. The affluent Barkley family's struggle to save their ranch in the San Joaquin Valley of California was the focus of the episode. Along with Hollywood icon Barbara Stanwyck, Evans appeared in all 112 episodes, who are on the rise, such as Lee Majors. Although she was the youngest of her family's siblings, Audra Barkley was much more than that. Unafraid to fight for her principles, she possessed a strong will and was kind. At a time when strong, self-reliant women were becoming increasingly popular on television, Audra was a standout. One of the show's most adored characters, Evans added charisma and complexity to the part. She nearly declined the part at first. At the time, she contemplated ending things since her lover wasn't on board. A refusal to release her from the contract was made by the producers. Nevertheless, everything shifted after that choice. A 1966 Emmy for Outstanding Performance in Cinema Sound Editing was one of the show's many accolades when it became a smash hit. To Evans, it was about far more than that. She shot to fame thanks to that chance encounter. One of the highlights of Evans' career was working with Barbara Stanwyck. Stanwyck was renowned for her severe professionalism and no-nonsense demeanor. She mentored Evans and showed her the ropes of screen presence. Evans had a memorable moment where he questioned the meaning of presence in a scenario. Instead of providing an explanation, Stanwyck forcefully pushed her onto the set while filming was underway. "This is what I learned." Evans said that it was at that point that she finally felt comfortable in her acting role. The relationship between them extended beyond the realm of performing. Evans' mother died while the episode was airing. After promising her, "I'll be your mom now," Stanwyck became a reassuring presence in her life. Everything hinged on that one remark. For Evans, Stanwyck was more than simply a role model. She was an inspiration. Evans inherited her mother's work ethic and discipline, which she put to good use throughout her career. Linda Evans was already a household figure in the television industry when The Big Valley concluded in 1969. Leaving behind the innocent persona she had cultivated on television, Linda Evans embarked on daring and surprising roles in the mid-1970s. She co-starred with Lee Marvin in 1974's The Klansman, together with Richard Burton. A racially divided Southern community on the verge of bloodshed was the plot of the film, which was adapted from the novel by William Bradford Way. Played by Evans was Nancy Pote, a young lady whose attack set off escalating tensions between the town's white officials and the town's black inhabitants. Critics believed the film failed to adequately address the weighty societal concerns it set out to address. Extortion was the view of many, in place of stimulating contemplation. At spite of the criticism, The Klansman is important because it shows racial tensions at a turbulent time in a direct and honest way. On top of that, it was one of O.J. the historical interest stemming from the fact that it included Simpson in her acting debut. In the 1975 criminal thriller Mitchell, which co-starred Joe Don Baker, Evans had a very different part. Greta was her role, an aristocratic escort entangled in a perilous realm of injustice. Baker portrayed a tough cop who used his unique brand of justice to take on strong criminals in the film. Greta was more than simply a romantic interest. She had a significant role in the plot since she was involved in the film's bigger problems. Mitchell did not have a good reception when he visited there. Critics panned it as unmemorable, and the New York Times dubbed it vapid television entertainment. Years down the road though, it discovered an unexpected new purpose. Due to its inflated action and tough man cliches, it became a beloved classic in the 1990s when it was aired on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Despite the lack of critical acclaim, Evans' performance demonstrated her fearlessness in taking chances. From her time as Audra Barclay on The Big Valley, these roles were a distinct change. They allowed her to delve into more complicated characters and darker themes, but they also highlighted the challenges of making the leap from TV to cinema. However, she persisted through it all, and the result was a career-defining endeavor. Tom Horn, which featured Evans and Steve McQueen, was released in 1980. The film was based on Tom Horn's true story, a famous ranger who became a vigilante, embroiled in a fatal feud over cattle rustling. Trying to make sense of a world that's always shifting, McQueen portrayed Horn as a guy whose violent history nags at him. One of the only individuals who showed Horn compassion and understanding was the schoolteacher Gwendoline Kimmel, played by Evans. A plot driven by lawlessness and treachery was given warmth by her character. Many obstacles were encountered during the making of Tom Horn. The malignancy mesothelioma had already begun to deteriorate McQueen's health. One of the most moving performances of his career, his sickness brought a subtle intensity to it. Critical reception for the picture was uneven. Some reviewers thought the pace was off, while others lauded McQueen for his realism and profundity. As time went on, Tom Horn's reputation grew, particularly among Western aficionados, who viewed it as an underappreciated feature picture by Steve McQueen. It was a confidence booster for Evans to see that she could play beside a Hollywood legend in the film. It was a turning point in her professional life as well. Her breakout part was still to come, although she kept appearing in films. The part of Crystal Carrington in Dynasty was cast by Linda Evans at the age of 39. That was deemed too old for a starring actress in Hollywood, but producer Aaron Spelling disregarded the norms of the industry. He yearned for a warm, traditional glamour girl. They were both in Evans' possession. She played Crystal, oil tycoon Blake Carrington's ex-secretary-turned-wife, in the January 12, 1981, premiere of Dynasty. She was initially paid $15,000 for each show. Her salary skyrocketed to $100,000 by 1989 though, and she was officially the highest-paid TV actress. Evans saw this job as an opportunity for redemption. Her career had peaked in the 1960s, when she was a star on the Big Valley, but it had declined by the late 1970s. While it may not have appeared so at first, Dynasty was meant to be her major return. Season 1 of the program was a failure, climbing the ratings to the 29th spot. Joan Collins's 1982 casting as Blake's ex-wife Alexis Carrington shifted the focus. The Dynasty took flight once she arrived. It reached 20 million viewers each week by 1984, making it the most watched program in America. Putting up a show as Crystal wasn't only about grace. Running about was a big part of the job. In 1983, a lily pond brawl between Crystal and Alexis became one of the most iconic scenes from the show's run. Production took 2 days due to Evans's adamant determination to perform all of her own stunts. An estimated 30 million people saw that sight, making it a cultural phenomenon. Even while Crystal and Alexis's on-screen rivalry was enjoyable, their off-screen interactions were less so. Collins and Evans did not get along. Collins was a master scene stealer, who enjoyed rehearsing scenes until he had complete mastery over them. Favored an organic method. Tensions arose as a result of this stylistic difference. Collins unintentionally struck Evans on the jaw during one of the combat scenes. She made a joke later on, but Evans didn't laugh at it. A scene when Alexis publicly shames Crystal at a charity banquet was something she initially declined to film. Collins' criticism of Evans' speech during a 1985 table read was the last straw that broke the tension. Out sprang Evans. Their animosity held viewers' attention despite the tension. May 1985 was the most viewed month for Dynasty, with the most viewers tuning in for the season finale, Moldavian Massacre. Terrorists stormed a royal wedding in this suspenseful episode, crystallizing the situation for Alexis and Crystal. Over 35 million people tuned in to see the show. However, Evans was having trouble off-camera. Chronic back discomfort was a result of the physical toll that the feats took on her. The script's escalating absurdity made her feel confined as well. In 1989, she had reached her breaking point. Before she decided to leave, she had only shot 6 episodes of season 9. I felt like a puppet, she added. Looking back, we were both ensnared, Crystal and myself. No one missed Evans's performance, no matter how difficult the circumstances. Along with Barbara Bel Geddes of Dallas, she shared the 1982 Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Drama Series. She was nominated for 4 further Golden Globes and an Emmy in 1983, but she was never named winner. She won 5 People's Choice Awards in a row, which was a record that remained until Friends with Jennifer Aniston began airing, and her fans loved it. Evans graced the covers of 6 magazines in a single month when her celebrity was at its peak. By securing a $2 million contract with Crystal Light in 1984, she also became one of the first significant TV brand ambassadors. The 1983 edition of her beauty and workout book sold 500,000 copies. In 1985, when Crystal's ex-boyfriend Rock Hudson made an appearance, it caused the most controversy outside of the show. An on-screen kiss between Evans and Hudson was originally scripted. Nobody understood he was fighting AIDS back then. Gargling antiseptic mouthwash before filming, Hudson ensured her safety. Evans encountered criticism following the announcement of his illness. She was shunned by the crew members, and a few did not want to talk about their cosmetics trailer. "Overnight, I became a pariah," she remarked afterwards. After 28 million viewers had watched the kiss, ABC contemplated removing it from further broadcasts. At the same time, her animosity for Collins persisted. Collins made fun of Evans' acting in 1986, claiming that her performances could go anywhere from A to B, because she was so offended. Evans didn't attend any Dynasty reunions for more than 10 years. Collins ultimately came clean in 2006 while they were both on Hell's Kitchen. They were like oil and water, but the program needed them both. After nearly 10 years of high-stakes television, Evans decided to leave Dynasty in 1989. She was exhausted after becoming one of the 1980s most recognizable celebrities. She came clean years later about how the program had both made her famous and confined her. Dynasty, however, is the part that defined her and cemented her position in television history. In the life of Linda Evans, love, treachery and rebirth played pivotal roles. When she wed actor-director John Derek for the first time in 1968, it was like something out of a Hollywood fairy tale. They were 16 years apart in age, although she was 25 when they met on set of The Big Valley, and she was captivated by his charisma and self-assurance. She gave up performing for over a decade to be his perfect wife, putting his profession ahead of hers. Believing in the life they were creating together, she did everything it took to keep the marriage going. The year 1973's Christmas Day followed. Early that day, Derek sat her down and broke the news that he was head over heels with Bo Derek, a 17-year-old. On a film set in Greece, he met Bo Derek when she was 16 years old. He remained in Europe with her until she became 18 years old, to evade statutory rape charges in California, as the encounter began while she was still minor. The news devastated Evans. She came to terms with the fact that she felt useless and contemplated suicide later on. Despite the finalization of the divorce in 1974, the agony persisted. 2 years down the road, Derek tied the knot with Bo, and the couple remained together till Derek passed away in 1998. That treachery altered Evans' life in ways she could never have imagined, however terrible it was. In 1974, she contacted her agency and pleaded for employment, determined to start again. Too much time had passed since she last worked in the field. She was informed by several that Hollywood had already forgotten about her. No, she was not going to accept it. Desperate to prove herself once more, she jumped at each acting opportunity that came her way. She won a Golden Globe, and made $100,000 every episode as Crystal Carrington on Dynasty in 1981. Something ironic dawned on her years later. That role would never have been hers if she had remained Derek's wife. He had dictated her professional path and wouldn't let her do tasks independently. He had set her free with his treachery, which was the worst thing that had ever happened to her. Bo Derek acknowledged decades later that she still felt guilty about the affair, which she described as a terrible incident that devastated her. However, Evans had accepted it a long time ago. Rather of resenting Bo, she chose to forgive him, and the two eventually became friends. "Whenever I'm not physically present with someone, my love for them does not diminish," Evans once declared. "My love is unique." In theory, her second marriage should have been distinct. Stan Herman, a real estate magnate from Los Angeles, was her husband in 1975. She sought security after the upheaval of her divorce, and found it in Herman. He aided her in getting back on her feet financially by instructing her in the investing techniques that eventually made her a billionaire. Although they were quite successful financially, their marriage was a failure. Evans had regained her passion for acting, but Herman desired a conventional housewife. In 1979, they finalized their divorce due to their incompatible lives. Herman, in contrast to her first spouse, was a buddy for life. He continued to counsel her on financial matters and handed her their Beverly Hills house, where she resided in for many years. The first person he asked to be by his side after receiving the thyroid cancer diagnosis in 1986 was Evans. While she was caring for him during therapy, she even thought about getting married to him again. Having her back in his life, is the finest medication he could have, according to a close friend he had at the time. Their love affair was brief, but his impact was profound and everlasting. She became one of the best-paid actresses in television history, thanks to his financial acumen, which she used throughout Dynasty to negotiate enormous contracts. Their mutual respect and affection did not prevent Evans from becoming disillusioned with marriage after their divorce. "I was sick of being a housewife," she said afterwards, "because Stan and I are now both successful. Although she has never actually settled down, the idea is attractive." She chose independence after 2 disastrous marriages. After she left Dynasty in the late 1980s, she took a bold decision. She quit her job in Hollywood, purchased a remote lake property in Washington, and vanished from public view. No one expected her to perform a certain way, which was a first. She stopped caring about her appearance, cut wood, and planted vegetables. She reflected on the Botox and wigs she had used while dating artist Yanni and remarked, "I no longer had to worry about how I looked." Even when you were out of the limelight, things weren't always easy. She has been in constant agony since 2006, when she had a slip disc. She contemplated ending her life, due to the excruciating pain. Her sisters were also dealing with terminal diseases. She had never been so down in the dumps before. Later on she said, "I really get why people say maybe I don't want to live." That being said, she managed to stay alive. A fresh perspective emerged in her midst of it all. A lesson might be gleaned from every traumatic event. She mentioned that she realized she deserved better. Passion ebbed and flowed. She never remarried after her 9-year marriage to Yanni, a man 12 years her junior. She was free of remorse by 2023, when she was 81 years old. For her, being in the limelight isn't a source of joy. West prime time. Your life choices are the source of it. She became a champion for reform in senior care after turning down reality TV offers, writing a memoir about self-discovery, and enduring a DUI arrest at the age of 74. Her spinal injury medicines were the direct cause of the occurrence, which served as a sobering reminder of the difficulties that come with becoming older. Her journey from a deceived wife to a strong, self-reliant woman is an inspiration. "Reclaiming your life opens up a world of possibilities," she once stated. Furthermore, she would not alter a thing if she had the chance to do so. According to her, she would not alter her history. "I owe my identity to it." Linda Evans departed from the opulence of Beverly Hills in pursuit of an entirely new experience. After relocating to a 70-acre property in Rainier, Washington, in 1989, she found a peaceful haven with a river, guest cottages, and a tight-knit group of loved ones. She had purchased the property when she was still a Dynasty star, but after her Hollywood career ended, it became her permanent retreat. Along with her sister, nephew, and ex-stepdaughter Sean Derrick, she lives in paradise, she added. Everything about her way of life shifted. She spent her days gardening and going on hikes after downsizing to a light-filled 2-bedroom home. She yearned for something authentic, away from the hollowness of stardom. According to what she told "Oh, you want to be where your heart feels safe." She went on to say that she had more confidence in her identity as she got older. Her diagnosis of idiopathic edema prompted her to explore alternative therapeutic modalities, including naturopathy and Eastern philosophy. The contentious Ramtha's School of Enlightenment, founded by J.Z. Knight, was an influential figure in her quest for spiritual enlightenment, and ultimately in her choice to make Washington her permanent home. The link between attractiveness and health was something that Evans advocated for long before wellness culture gained traction. Her 125-page 1983 book, Linda Evans' Beauty and Exercise, included topics such as physical fitness, skincare, and psychological well-being. After its publication by Simon & Schuster, the book sold more than 500,000 copies. It had skincare regimens, fitness plans, and positive mantras like "Beauty is within" that were easy to follow. In the 1980s, when fitness was all the rage, she and her ex-stepdaughter Sean Catherine Derrick worked together on a project that introduced unusual notions like meditation and intuitive nutrition. With the help of CEO Mark Gulov, she expanded her health concept in 1992 by opening a series of women-only clubs called Linda Evans Fitness Centers. Aerobic sessions choreographed by her former partner Yanni were a component of the holistic health clinic's offerings. Evans continued to promote health and beauty even after the gym shut down. She went on to conduct infomercials for the electric face toning mask Rejuvenique. As she put it, "I wanted to help women feel strong, not just look strong." This shows that there is more to fitness than meets the eye. When Evans did something unexpected in 2009, he was 66 years old. As a result of her victory, she became the show's oldest champion ever. With 5.8 million viewers, she stunned the UK audience in the live finals by defeating comedian Adrian Edmondson. The fact that she had never worked as a chef before added insult to injury in her triumph. Her culinary expertise was mostly focused on domestic cooking and memorization of recipes for scenes in Dynasty kitchen. Her time on the show began badly. Her first day on the job was cut short when head chef Marco Pierre White expelled her for overcooking scallops, claiming that she was unprepared to handle a pan. The physical difficulties were as hard. She made history at a fish market challenge by killing an eel with her bare hands, the first person to do it. Even if it meant turning into a killer, I agreed to learn, which she acknowledged thereafter. In a pasta challenge judged by Mario Batali, she had her return moment. She wasn't only competing for the novelty value of her dish. Her lobster and truffle ravioli beat out the prepared meals of professional chefs. Unlike younger rivals like Bruce Grabelar, who quit, and Anthea Turner, who was disqualified for inadequate knife skills, White subsequently lauded her unwavering poise in the face of adversity. Although Evans's actual triumph was cultural, she did donate the £100,000 award to charity. Her victory was the most shocking on Hell's Kitchen, and her popularity in the UK caused a 237% spike in fans' interest in visiting Seattle. Evans, who had an 18-year hiatus from acting, had a triumphant return at the age of 79 in Swan Song 2021. She portrayed Rita Parker Sloan, a former opera diva dealing with the effects of aging and a decline in her career, in the short film that had its world debut at SXSW. The part was intimate. Authenticity was key to her performance, which she derived from her battles with chronic fatigue syndrome in the 90s. Evans had a remarkable performance while collaborating with seasoned art house actors like Udo Kier and Jennifer Coolidge. Her character's shaky hands applying cosmetics in a single 90-second take was particularly striking. For 3 weeks she practiced it, making sure every action conveyed the frailty of growing older. Critics compared her to Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard, and the picture got 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. She merely appeared on film for 11 minutes, but her influence was substantial. The streaming views of her 1983 TV movie Bare Essence increased by 41% within 1 month after Swan Song's debut. When she had a comeback in the 2000s, she reached a whole new demographic. There were 14.2 million views on TikTok for clips of her infamous dynastic catfight with Joan Collins. With 9.7 million views, her eel scene from Hell's Kitchen became viral. Her allure captivated Gen Z in an instant. Even the fashion industry paid attention. The silver ball gown she wore in the notorious Moldavian massacre episode of Dynasty sold for $47,000 in 2022, 325% more than the initial estimate. Evans has never followed the road everyone would expect her to take. She has been a soap opera star, a fitness expert, and an unexpected culinary champion. To her, reinventing herself is an essential part of living a full life.